saying that Brock Purdy's a top 10 quarterback?
I think he is. I think he's great. And especially when you combine him with Kyle and you combine him with what we have, he's a heck of a quarterback. And you want him to be here for a long, long time.
Jed. Jed just wrote the check. Jed might not have realized it, Christopher. Did you catch what he said?
He said he's a heck of a quarterback.
Top 10. He's a top 10. Is he a top 10 quarterback? Yeah. Yes. You know what that means?
Yeah.
Pull out the list. Do we have the graphic of the top 10 highest paid quarterbacks? We've simplified the negotiation. They're going to be writing this guy a big-ass check.
Right.
And they're going to be paying him a lot of money. And forget about anything you and I have said. He's not really proven. Maybe they should offer him 40 to 45. He's going to be up in $50 million a year territory. And the owner said it.
Yeah.
You print those words out and you laminate that card and you hand it to Jed York when it's time to sit down and have the negotiation. There it is. He's in the 50. If he's a top 10 quarterback, Chris, he's in the $50 million a year club.
I know. That's what's hilarious. Again, because I just love, because you talk to some of these teams sometimes and then they play people like Mahomes or Josh Allen and they go, oh, well, I don't know. It might be a tough game because, they got that guy. And I want to go, but you're paying your quarterback the same. So your guy should do the same too. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And that's what's going on in the NFL a little bit right now. Yeah, Brock Purdy is very good with the combination of Kyle Shanahan. No doubt about that. 100%. And he's good. He's a starting quarterback. But again, do I think he's top 10? Not really. No, I don't. Sorry. Right? I know he can run that offense and do some things positively. We saw last year when the team was kind of hurt, not doing its best, he certainly didn't carry them to the promised land and get them over the hump. In fact, we didn't even get close. So that's where I would continue to argue that with the 49ers here on TV and do all of that. Let alone here's another aspect of it. And, I think you're right. He's going to get a lot of money. He's going to be on that list, seems most likely. But to make the comments of we have to sacrifice the team and do all of that to make sure we get Brock Purdy, that to me, just in my football spidey senses world's going, they think maybe he's asking for a little too much money here. Yeah. And now they're maybe like a Jerry did a minute ago in a different way. This is a little more tasteful and tactical, right? Whatever.
Tactful.
Thankful for that. Thank you.
Add one to the board. Have you seen the thing about the guy at Ford that wrote all of the verbal miscues down for 10 years?
I did. I saw that.
We're going to need a bigger board in these parts.
But he's, in his own way, I think, kind of putting pressure on the Purdy camp to go, hey, we're giving you so much money, we can't even keep the team together here. You want more? You want more? That's what it feels like to me. And again, I don't know that, but, I've been around the league for a while.
I've never seen it come out this way, though, where they get rid of all the guys before they've even paid him.
Yes.
In anticipation of this gigantic contract that we haven't given to you yet, we've had to part ways with multiple key players. And if the goal there is to get him to maybe take less, that's a tough one.
Yes.
Look at all these departures from the 49ers this offseason. Is anyone left? Good Lord.
I know. That's why we laugh, right? That they're still the NFC West favorite. And I'm going, I don't even know. Can they fill a full team on the field right now? That's what's crazy about it. But I don't think it's fair to blame Brock Purdy in that contract situation or the guys leaving just on Brock Purdy. Certainly not. Yeah, I'm sure they had to make some tough decisions because of that quarterback contract. We know that's got to go down too. But it was way bigger. We discussed that. They had to make moves to the roster no matter what. There was no doubt about that. It was top heavy. We discussed this a million times. How many people at different positions can you have as top 3 paid player in the league at their position? So they weren't going to be able to sign players in the future. So they had to do that, not only for the future of the football team, but for the Brock Purdy thing. But I do think this is a little bit of a needle of pressure here.
And the quote that you were referring to from York, we knew we had to make sacrifices around the roster to make sure you can pay a quarterback. Okay, and I'm going to defend him in how he said what he said earlier, because he did write the check when he said yes to the question of is he a top 10 quarterback. He did say working with Kyle and the offense.
That's
right?
Where, yeah, it didn't come out. He didn't go, he's a top 10 quarterback. Right?
He's a top 10 quarterback in combination with Kyle.
Right.
Okay, so why are you going to pay him? Why are you tearing down your team to pay this guy when you could find somebody else who, in tandem with Kyle Shanahan, could be a top 10 guy? I don't have my finger squarely on the pulse of the 49ers fan base. I don't get the sense, and maybe I'm wrong, correct me if I am, that Brock Purdy is regarded as Joe Montana.
No.
In San Francisco.
No, but I do think that I certainly get pushback from, people on social media, whatever. If I talk to somebody in the media out there about when I make comments, and I know you've agreed with me, that he's not a top 10 quarterback. And so there is definitely a part of their fan base that thinks he's that. Certainly. But yeah, I mean, how far does that go? I don't know. And I think the 49er fan base is smart enough to know he's not Josh Allen or Mahomes or Lamar Jackson. That's for sure. But he's going to get paid in that stratosphere. And that's where, I continue to push back against that, against the whole league, as you've heard me say, about other quarterbacks too. It's not just an attack on Brock Purdy.
And when you look at the misadventures the 49ers have had at the quarterback position over the last 8 years, and it's amazing how well they've performed, considering the bad luck and bad decisions they've made. And it's not all bad decisions, it's bad luck. And they've had good luck. But now they're in a position with a guy who was the last player picked in the draft, and they're getting ready to pay him, and it feels like they're opening the pocketbook a little too widely. Remember, I don't know if we talked off air or on air about the report that they had opened at $45 million. And I think the way it was couched by the reporter who shared that information, it was insultingly low. It's like, dude, that's ridiculously high as an opener. If you're opening at 45,
I would agree
there's no
with that.
way in hell you're staying south of 50. It's the opener.
Exactly. That's where I know we had conversations before we heard that. I want to say I thought it was Michael Silver who might have said that or reported that. I can't remember.
It might have been Tim Kawakami.
Maybe it was. No disrespect to either one there. But
guys, that's a high opener. That's not an insult.
That's the point. To me, in my world, and again, I know I'm not on the line here, and again, it's not always easy to find a quarterback out there to go, hey, wait, he matches well with us, and we can be successful. I get that. But yeah, in my perfect world, I'd want $45 million to kind of be the end number. That would be the end number. I can go, okay, I can deal with that. We're paying him he's the most expensive guy on our team. We're paying him like a big-time player, but he hasn't quite proven to us that he's in that stratosphere of some of the guys on that list right there. And so here we go. But yeah, it does, Mike. It feels like it's going to go north of that for sure.
Yeah, and then they're going to be, oh, woe is us. We're not very good anymore because we paid all this money to the quarterback. Like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to win games, pursue a championship, or are you trying to placate a quarterback and in turn mollify your fan base? That I don't get it. I don't get it, because I know they've had a hard time getting to where they have Brock Purdy, but let's play this out. He's under and I say this as a card-carrying member of the Players Go Get Paid Club, but he's under contract for one more year at $5.3 million. You got the franchise tag available to you next year. You have leverage here from the standpoint of, this is a guy who was never going to make big money in the NFL. It's the Tony Romo dynamic. I remember when he took his first new contract with the Cowboys, I thought, man, he left a lot of meat on the bone. But this is a guy who was never going to get that contract. He was never going to be a starting quarterback. So, I don't know if Brock Purdy is not, and again, I don't want to be Jerry Jones here and say, oh, what's the agent doing? Don't even need the agent. Let's go straight to Brock Purdy. But at some level, Brock Purdy's got to say, do I want to be Archie Manning? And that's an extreme example. But do I want to be quarterback who doesn't have a lot of guys around me, and I'm the one who's the focal point, and if we fail, it's me just because I made big money for a few years? Or do I want to be a guy that's part of something that is sustainable for 10 years because they have enough around me? And whether the 49ers are deliberately setting it up this way or not, Chris, it's putting so much pressure on Purdy. And if this team stinks for the next couple of years, what's going to happen is whatever contract he gets, in 2 or 3 years, they're going to tear it up and they're going to move on anyway.
Well, yeah, that's where it feels a little late. It feels like they've boxed themselves in the corner, even with what Jed York said there, right? And I'm with you there all the way, Mike. I mean, 100%. First off, what I would say is, like, this year shows you a little. I mean, I do think it's kind of amazing that we're going, wait, 6-11 quarterback is asking and going to be paid like a top 10 quarterback. And to your point about where the team is and what it's going to be, This year, of course, was a great piece of evidence of that. Oh, yeah, there were some people hurt. They weren't the same. He didn't lift them to the place they were supposed to go. So now you're not going to be able to get that team because of the guy that the contract that couldn't lift the other guys anyways, but now we can't get him because we're paying the guy that couldn't lift him way too much money. That's where it doesn't quite make sense to me. And I hear you. I would worry about the same thing you're talking about. I was going to go to the same spot. We get to this year. We know, we're seeing it's a rebuilding type of year. They're going to pay him north of $50 million. And what if they go 6-11 again? Something like that. It's going to be like, what? I mean, what? Why? 2 years of 6-11, and we're paying him $50-something million a year, and he didn't carry you, and he didn't play good this past year, and now, if he doesn't play good again this year in the first year of a big contract year, you're going to have people like us and a lot of other people going, what the hell were the 49ers thinking? And that's where it'll get interesting for them if it does get to that point.
And the thing to remember for most of these quarterback contracts, there's a multi-year commitment, often 2, sometimes 3, once 5. That was what the Browns did. Sometimes it's year to year like Sam Darnold or Geno Smith before him. But the question is going to be when Purdy does this deal, delving into the nooks and crannies to see, is it 2 or is it 3? Because if they don't compete and contend, and if he becomes the focal point of the criticism, well, Purdy's just not good enough, they'll be able to rip this thing up and move on, and they'll have every incentive to do it because then we get into the back-end numbers, the bigger part of the contract in many cases. So it felt like the 49ers had solved their issue at quarterback. I don't like how they're handling this because they're creating an issue now by putting themselves in a position where we're going to pay this guy too much money, and they're making him the scapegoat for why the rest of the team isn't good. I don't like that. I'm trying to be fair here with Jed. I don't like anything that he said yesterday. It does not help his team become better equipped to compete for championships. It hurts his team's effort, in my opinion.
Yeah, I hear you there. Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I don't think it's fair that you say, hey, we had to make some of these and put that all on Brock Purdy. I think some of those decisions had to be made regardless. It didn't matter. But Brock Purdy certainly is a part of, yes, making some of those broader decisions and thinking about what we're going to have to pay him the next 2 years and all of that. So it's a weird one for sure. And another one that as we sit here, I'm anticipating maybe some fireworks here. I don't know. Is it going to get done here soon? Is it not going to get done? And then he's not going to show up at OTAs? Is it going to get to that point where he won't show up or do anything like that? And there's going to be so many new pieces on the football team. It's just an interesting time out there in San Francisco.
I'm trying to think of a good metaphor for this that arises in people's lives. Like, we need a new roof on the house. And man, it's really going to be expensive. We have to get a new roof. We must get a new roof. We have no choice. Even if we might, we have no choice. We have to get this roof, and we're not going to be able to go on vacation this year or next year. And we just have to accept that. And we're going to pay. We have to buy this expensive roof. Hey, kids, I'm sorry, we can't go to Disney World this year or next year or even the year after because we have to pay for this roof. But we have to pay for this roof. But I feel like they have options. Maybe they don't have to pay for the roof. That's what's weird about this. We're going to give this guy all the money. And, oh, man, giving this guy all the money is going to make it hard to keep guys around him. But we have to give him all this money. You don't have to give him all that money. They really have painted themselves into a corner. This is an unforced error by the 49ers, Chris.
I don't disagree with you there. I don't. And it's hard because, again, there's not a lot of starting quarterbacks to go around, and they feel like they got one, and he did go to the Super Bowl leading the charge there and all that too. And you do have a fan base that's behind them and all that as well. So there's that pressure here. But, yeah, I'd agree with you that it feels like they're going to overpay. And they're stuck in a spot here that is only going to lend itself to that, and we'll see. But yeah, it feels like it's going to go north of 50, and he's going to be on that list.
They're paying the quarterback in the hopes of having a great team, and they're making excuses about why they're not going to have a great team because of what they have to pay the quarterback. It is a dog chasing its tail.
Right.
And I think it's going to make it harder for the 49ers to be what they are accustomed to being over the past 5 or 6 years. All right, let's take a break. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.